And let me start out by saying I appreciate y'all coming out, and we want to try to answer any questions you have and listen to the concerns. Let me kind of mention just a little bit about where we are. A number of months ago, our attorney informed us that in all the years past, we did at-large elections of our council members. By law, you have to have 5 council members, which we do have 5 council members, but they weren't really designated as they're District 1 through 5, but we do not have a district map. And our Mr. Matt Clayton informed us, due to various reasons and all, that we're in violation, and we need to draft a district map, and then you'll be represented, each area will be represented by one of the council members. And it will change the way, you would go to that council member, or you can come here anytime you want to, but you will have a council member that will be your representative for that area. And also, it'll change the election process is that whatever district you live in, you will vote for that particular one, or if you choose to run for a public office as a council member, you will run in that district. So once that was that started, we found out that. We basically then decided, and I'll admit I was the one who started looking at this, because we have been applying for a number of grants for our community, because it's very difficult for a small community this size to do various things without trying to go through and get federal grant money. There's a lot of money out there, and you just have to go for it and try to apply for it and see if you get it. And one thing as we got to looking at is the grants. Last year we applied for a grant of 180,000 for the senior center, and we didn't get that. It was a competitive grant. And some of the issues that come up in the grant application, they always ask us, how many people do you serve in your town limits? And it's hard to believe this, but in U-Site, we do not qualify for any low to moderate income grants. And it's been that way, I guess, some of Mickey or Michael might can speak how long, but the per capita income in U-Site exceeds the limitations on those grants. So those type of grants we're not able to apply for. The type of grants we are what they call competitive grants. Now, so what I'm saying is, we are not looking at the annexation to raise any revenue, because it will not raise any revenue, because we don't have any taxes. We don't have any taxes that I live in the town limit. All over here, we live in the town limits. We don't pay any different taxes than you do. So we don't have, you've heard the term ad valorem tax. Ad valorem is property tax. And the town of U-Site does not have a town ad valorem tax. So you don't pay any property tax on your home. I pay property tax to Calhoun County Revenue Office over there. And that money doesn't come to our municipality. So when I started looking at this, the first thing you do is I wanted to see, okay, what kind of effect would it have on the people that were not in the town limits as far as financially? Because that's the first thing I'd be concerned about. If you was up here and I was out there, I would be sitting right out there exactly where you're at, because you deserve answers for your questions, and I want you to get the right answer, because I want to know what's this going to cost me, or what changes it going to do. So I hope tonight that's what we want to do. We want to allow us to have a conversation about that, and we'll do our very best to answer those questions and do the best we can. So I guess, and I'd like to ask Ms. Fuller or someone if they would, we've got a
Sure.
Okay.
I want to start with the most obvious thing that I think most people, do I need to stand up for this?
No, you whatever's comfortable.
For me, there's 3 or 4 different ways to annex areas in. Mm-hmm. And it looked really bad because the method that you guys chose was the method where we had no voice. That's the reason we're all here. And now I understand that asking people does take time, but we spent 4 days and 4 people and got well over 150 signatures against it. It took time, it took our money and resources, but if we can do that in 4 days, what could have you guys done to ask us?
Well, let's talk about some concerns you got to begin
Well,
with.
that was the big thing for me. That was the first
I just found out
concern.
yesterday.
That people didn't know about it. And everybody in here doesn't read the newspaper. Everybody doesn't read the outlook on Facebook, you know, the revenue, the ways that you would think people would find out. There are several methods that you could have used to get the word out. Sandy Bishop made a great comment and said that there are ways to do mailings and stuff that wouldn't have costed anything. Maybe a sticker on the water bill. That would affect, 90% of the people, and we would have known about it. So what happened is everybody just kind of went, wait a minute, what's going on? And we started contacting other people. So that's how we're trying to get the word out, because it looks like you guys are trying to be sneaky because you didn't ask us. I know it's a law. I've already looked it up. I realize that. But it looks bad and it looks sneaky. We all grew up, we can look around the room and we know everybody's name. We may not be best buddies, but we all know each other. And it looks bad and it makes us feel like you guys didn't care because we have no representation.
I understand.
You're taking that representation from us and saying, after you're in, then we'll represent you. And that's just not right. So that was the first concern as far as how it all came about.
Okay. All right, well, now, I understand that, and I'll apologize for that. I'll take the blame. I'm the mayor, so I'll take the blame for that. So now what we want to do is try to answer your questions and share, and go in depth or whatever you want to do and explain that. So I'm aware of that, and I'll step on up to that. So now then, I apologize for that end of it. Now let's try to help answer the questions you have and just whatever.
What you were talking about what's in it for us.
That's
Well,
my
no.
question.
I'll
What's in it
speak
for
up.
us?
I'll speak up for VZ Road and to all the people, the great people that's in here today. I understand you guys have just went through some training in ethics, and I would suggest some public relation training in the future, because the way this has been handled is really quite embarrassing to the entire community. I do not believe there would be such an uproar at this point if there would have been something out on the sign, some kind of flyer. I think that's the greatest concern. Another thing is I would like to get Mr. Mayor and this council right now go on public record to say there will be no additional taxes, no additional registrations or fees of any type associated with this annexation. That's the number 2 issue on this, from this whole community right here. So, and the other thing is, if there is fees associated with this, is there plans or there data, is there places that's been allocated for these funds to be put into place and to work for the people that are being annexed in?
Well, I can honestly say, as the mayor, we have no plans of increasing any fees, adding any.
That's on record. Also, I do see some of the fees in here that's associated, such as purchase of autos, house trailers, et cetera. That et cetera is a little bit not very precise on what it means. Mr. Blasingame, quite frankly, I think all of us here do not have the, let's just say, the trust of the city or the town news site because of the way this has come about. I do think that this council could have went in a different avenue of trying to talk to maybe community leaders and people in the community. I'm sure everybody sitting here knows somebody that's gonna be affected by this annex. You could have got the word out, just talked to people and got a feel before just saying, hey, we're gonna draw these lines, we're gonna annex you guys in, and there's a law that you really don't have much to say about it. And I think that's what's really got people in uproar right now. And if you could please, again, go on record and state that, I know you say you don't plan on it, but that what's existing new site residents, that are existing new site residents would have a different treatment than the ones annexed in.
There will be no different, everybody be treated the same. We have to by law. That's exactly right.
So how is
What's gonna change annexing this in? Why can't we live our lives the way we've been?
Well, as I was talking earlier, the things, and I'm gonna speak as the mayor, because what we have to do sometimes is look 3 and 4 and 5 years down the road, is just trying to better, like you take the senior citizen center that we put in place, that's for everybody. That's not for just town, city limit people, that's for everybody. Anybody wants to come is welcome to do that. We're working on the clinic up here. We've got the first part of the grant approved. We're waiting on the federal part to be approved. That's for everybody. You know, we're sitting here, we've applied now for a grant to redo the walking track here, asphalt the walking track, and it's lighted and everything. That's for everybody. You know, we're trying to give all of us the same amenities that we might have in other communities. And one thing that I've run across is, as we apply for the grants, is they want to know how many people do you serve, because you get points. And I can't say, you know, I'm not going to stand here and say, well, I guarantee if we do this, we're going to get every grant we apply for. That's not true. We're not, because we've already missed on some. We just keep reapplying. But in other words, it does enhance our opportunities to do that. They asked that when I went to Montgomery to make the presentation for the clinic. The second question they asked me, they had the map of the town limits, and they said, explain to me how many people you served. And they had the 700 and some odd, I don't know the exact number right now. And they said, one, you don't want to pay any more taxes. And if you did, you want to make sure you're getting something for it. But as we looked at, as we'll talk here, I mean, I do live in the city limits, and I'd be willing to say that you and I pay the same amount. I don't pay anything more for what we do here versus what you do. I'm not aware of any, and I mean, we've talked about it, we've looked at it, and that's why we put it on paper to let you see. You know, sales tax is sales tax. If you shop at one of the stores here, you pay sales tax. And you look there, wine and beer, if you buy that up here, you pay the state beverage tax that they do. And we get a cut of that. So that's, again, people is shopping up here. And the 7 cents gas tax, see all these taxes that are listed here are paid by anybody and everybody that shops at our stores. There's no tax on here. We don't have a homeowner's tax or any tax on our home because we're in the town limits. We don't have that. Now, you're right, there is that 0.05, that half-cent sales tax, and I don't know what the et cetera is either, but if you look, this is all of 2018. We only got a little under $1,200 for that, so I would assume if someone was purchased an auto, a house trailer or something, but it's like $1,176. So,
It's basically anything that has to be tagged.
yeah, and I calculated today, it might cost you $2 on the tag as a utility or something. And I'll admit that would be a little different there. In
Can
other
you
words,
answer me one question?
yes, ma'am.
I heard, since I just heard it yesterday, I heard y'all gonna put a housing project up behind the school.
I had 2 people call me today at the bank about that, and I tell you what,
I
I'm
grew up in
not,
the city, that only causes crime, drugs, and everything else.
council members, y'all want to address that issue? I mean, we haven't had anybody to come here and ask for a housing project at all. That has nothing to do with what we're doing here. I haven't heard that. I mean, I did hear it today. Somebody come out of the bank and talk to me about it. No.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I agree with you.
If you annex into the town limits, you know, if y'all rural and people behind my house, they hunt, are they still gonna be able to hunt? They still gonna be able to shoot the guns?
We don't have any laws, you know,
Yeah, but when it
anything.
becomes city limits, you're not allowed to discharge a firearm.
Right.
I don't mind speaking on that. I hunt at my house, and I live half a mile right up the road here.
See, I
got
trap
tree stands behind the
possums,
house, and
and I
I
shoot 'em.
hunt. And
You're in town limits.
Yes, and I hunt too. I'm a big hunter.
But can the officer come out there and tell you cannot shoot a gun by the law?
you have to officer that, he never come to the house and told
I'm
me.
saying, can he?
Oh, I don't know.
That's what the law is instead.
Well, looking at you,
You live in the
Philip,
city limits,
Yeah, but
town
what-
limits.
I've had Mr. McKelvey, he's here somewhere.
Now, one
I've had
thing,
him come to my home before
it's
because I
a town limits too, now, it's the difference between town and the city, but I don't know what the
You're
law
right,
is.
you're right, right there.
I don't know what
See, now,
the
we're a
difference in law,
town,
you have to have
we're
an
town,
officer on
because I
that.
hunt at my
That's right,
house
it's a town,
too.
it's a
Yeah, it's not down Alex City, I mean, Dayville, we can't, I don't, you know, they're totally different. They have various things.
have a city ordinance or town.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the city limits are elevated, you shoot them down.
Now, he knows.
Yeah, he's
He
fine.
knows more about
Now,
There's no
Phil,
one-
to speak of what Charlie was saying there, a lot of concerns is once if we do get annexed into to the town limits, that restrictions could be applied. And the way this is going about right now, you're just being annexed in without any say, there's concerns that Just say you got unregistered vehicles in the yard, lease laws, things like that, could be coming down the road. As you was talking about, looking 3 or 4 steps down, just like a chess game. These are things and legitimate concerns these constituents have.
And that's true. I agree with those
Right,
concerns.
it's not what's going to affect right now, it's what's gonna happen later. That can, not will, but can happen later.
Oh, it
Once it goes-
ain't no can, it will happen. And that's exactly the reason why I left Florida and moved up this way. Because, oh, we're gonna just annex y'all in, and then before you knew it, it just snowballed effect and that comes, and then they wanted to put sidewalks down, and then they, this, that, and everything else, and before you knowed it, your grass had to be this tall. If it's any taller than that, they wanna give you a ticket. Am I wrong?
I
And it
personally
may
like
not
the
come
small
to that,
town life.
it's just something that can, once it passes. I mean, nobody's saying this thing's gonna pass, and when it does pass, they're gonna run out and say, well, you can't have a car in the yard. We're saying there's a possibility that it can. I think the big thing in here is, it's the unknown. What's gonna be, what's behind the bushes, the unknown thing. And another thing is, I know you was voted in as the mayor. Great, you're a great guy, Phil. I've known you my whole life. I think we all ought to be allowed to vote for this.
You will be. You will be. Now, you talking about voting?
No,
for
no,
election?
I'm not saying,
Annexation.
I'm talking about for this annexation. I think we'll be.
At least you
allowed
don't have to
vote.
collect petitions
And
now,
not-
since
not being
everybody.
told what we're gonna have to do.
Well, and another thing
That's the
is,
really thing that rubs me the wrong way.
as you brought it up, and that is something we can look at is, number one, then you would be able to run for a public office, you'd be able to vote. I mean, if you want to be a council member, if you want to vote for or against some of us, you'd have representation and you have a voice.
Yeah, then, once you're annexed in.
Well, yeah, we can't give it to you now. I mean, it's outside the limits.
Right,
It's
I'm
very
saying
difficult
allow
to
us
do
to
that.
vote and say,
Well-
yes, we wanna be here, or no, we don't.
We should
So
have
that's
a vote.
another thing, there's a lot of
Allow
people
it to
that have
happen.
chosen to live outside of town limits. We already have county over us, we've got state over us, we've got federal over us. We don't want any more government over us. I mean, if we did, people that lived on the fringes would go, you know what? There's a house for sale on the 4 lane. I'm gonna move from here, from Cowpens, and I'm gonna go live right in the middle of town. So I think a lot of people, like he said, it's the unknowns. Right now, we're a small community, we all know each other, blah, blah, blah. We're not gonna go out and do really crazy things where it requires more laws and rules and regulations. But in our minds, we see it growing, and if we grow the town past the point, I want to say of no return, then we're going to have to implement more laws and rules and regulation, because you start bringing in more people who didn't grow up together and won't know how to treat each other. You see what I'm
Well,
saying?
yeah, I see
And-
exactly what you're saying. The key thing we want to make sure is, I think, I've been here all my life, Charlie, and you're right, we grew up together, is we want to see new site stay new site, okay? I mean, we want to see that. We want to see it to be, but at the same time, if you're not at least changing a little bit with times and whatever times is, we want to make sure it's a safe place. We want to make sure that we've
And I
got a
agree
quality
with that.
school.
I agree with that.
And we want to make sure that we're working hard to try to get the amenities that will keep you here. And I hope my daughter one day wants to come back here and live here, and that may not happen. I don't know the answer to that, but you got health care, you got great churches. We just got Castor's, another restaurant to go along with the Grape General's Cafe. Just trying to pick certain things that we can help, we can do our part to give other amenities that make you enjoy living here
And
even
we're
more.
gonna have McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger
Yeah.
King and all that.
Maybe
We don't
not.
want that.
Maybe
Yeah, I don't
not.
think we can have
Maybe
all
we
that,
won't
but
see
we're trying
that.
to make
I
sure
don't
we
wanna
do,
see
we stay
that.
ahead of
That brings
everything.
more people from the city into the town. I
I
don't
want to
like
be a
that.
good citizen, so what laws and rules does new site have now that's over and above the county?
Well, in other words, they pretty much, I think, that I don't know about, when you say the county, that's a broad area. I mean, what,
Okay, but I live in the county, so I follow the county rules now. What other rules am I gonna have to be aware of to live in new site?
I mean, I live here in the city limits, so I don't know, that's a hard question to answer, because I don't know what to start. I mean, I don't know of any other rules and regulations, because
What
I go
about like
by.
building permits and things like that?
Well.
How would that
Bring
change?
that up about the county info, you can't come in.
Well, the
We
building
just came
permit,
out from under that, we don't even go under the county code.
yeah, we voted that about 3 or 4 months ago. In other words, we changed that, so the county, in the city limits, the county inspector does not come in and inspect the houses or your barns or whatever. In other words, now that was a recent change. In other words, so that that would be something that would be different than the county. And I'm not being negative toward the county either, but that is a difference between us.
What does this do for the common people?
Well, basically, I think it would give you an opportunity to have a voice and vote or run for public office. You would share, you can share the amenities now and everything. I don't see any negative for tax purposes. You know, I want to make sure that you realize that, you know, it's not going to cost you anything to live here. In other words, more than it does now. Patrick?
What about taxes on propane getting delivered, Bill?
It would go up.
Taxes on propane.
It would go up. We pay
How's that
county
work?
tax.
I don't know, Carl, how's that work?
County tax is 5% and city tax is 9%.
Is it, okay, because you, Carl worked there, yeah.
Okay, that's a jump.
Resources. If we go around to every constituent, and we have a list that shows you that 99%, 98% of these residents disagree with being annexed in. What does you guys move on that?
Well, that speak volumes, it would, but now, and you may be correct that you got 99%, but 99% out of how many? I mean, whether it's 100 or whether it's 30 or whatever.
I've got 150 signatures right here, and out of the 50 to 60 I spoke to, only 2 declined to sign because they were neutral. Everyone else was for it. And I think Mr. Smith had the same.
Well, our job is
experience.
to listen to the public. I mean, you know, I'll admit, again, I'll take it, you know, our intent is, or was, or is to try to do better things. In other words, it wasn't to penalize anybody. It's just an opportunity for us to try to get additional monies from other sources, not tax money, because this won't increase our tax. This wouldn't change this sheet right here at all, very little. We was trying to get where we could qualify for additional grants to provide for services for over the years. So it wasn't to say, we see all these people sitting here not paying taxes, we got a ad valorem tax on our house, we're gonna do that and get that, but we don't have that. So there's no hidden taxes that if you did get in, you'd say, oh, he didn't tell me about that. We don't have that aspect of it. But that was not the intent. You know, in other words, we'll take into consideration, we'll look at it, and maybe we do have just a vote and let the people decide if they want it or not. You know, that may be the best way.
Well, I understand you guys have you can override and annex us in, no doubt.
Yeah,
no
but you know,
doubt.
we don't want it that way. We want it to be a good mutual agreement between
And that's
everybody.
exactly what we would like to see happen go forward. If it's gonna come up for a vote, we'd like to know. We would like to be involved with this whole thing going forward, so we're not left out into the cold and we don't have a voice and a say in
We'd
this.
like to work with you and not work against anybody.
Sure.
Because, I mean, we all live here together.
We're not here to poke anybody.
And
or
I'm
put anybody
glad you're
down.
here. I don't have any problem with it at all, you know, and if I don't answer your question properly, you know where I live, whatever, come, you know, feel free to come sit and talk to me. In other words, I mean, I think it's great that you're interested enough to come do that. I do, because sometimes they don't. And then nothing's wrong with asking a question. You know, there's no such thing as my teacher used to tell me is a dumb question. You know, the dumb question is one you don't ask.
I went to the same.
Yeah, yeah, she taught you too. And that's fine, and we want to listen to that, and we want to try to answer the best we can. But you know, one thing about it, to say that we guarantee, or anybody that's, you know, we may leave, we may get defeated or whatever, but if you ever say, I guarantee you nothing will ever happen, you know, you can't do that, because, I mean, there's so many things that may change that causes things to change. So for me to sit here and say, I guarantee you'll never see this, that, I'm never going to do that, because I would not be telling you the truth, because things they do change.
Yes.
And we got to see what the economy does or what other laws are put on us that we have to do. But we're not here, actually, I was looking at it as something we could better improve our community.
Yes, sir, and I
That's the
understand, you
purpose
don't
of it.
know what you don't know, but I think I can speak for this whole group here. We just want transparency.
I got you.
That's all we're asking here, and we want a voice, and we want to be able to voice our opinions in this format if need be, but we don't want to be just swept under.
Well, let's do this. We'll table it tonight, and then we'll have a couple of meetings, in other words, and then just let's sit down and talk about it and try to answer your questions and see what that goes. And y'all can either pick 3 or 4 representatives, or everybody can come. I'll be glad to do that.
Why don't you just let us, the people that it's gonna affect, vote on it?
Well, there's certain guidelines that have to be done. I don't write the laws, you know, there's a certain procedure that has to be followed to do this and everything. So, you know, we could possibly have the vote, but I do think that it might benefit just having a work session here or something and let's come and let's just sit around the table and talk about it. And then it may be to find out that that's not what's best for us, you know. you know, our intent was to try to do better things, but now at the same time, we want to make sure everybody's company, we're never going to satisfy everybody, and y'all know that.
Yes.
You just can't do that. I mean, some people have different ways, and that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're not going to make 100% of people happy. But I can tell you that there's no ulterior motive of trying to put taxes on people behind their backs, because it's just, that's not gonna happen. That's never been discussed here in the housing project. I don't know where that come from, so it's never been brought up here. It's never been brought up here in front of us, so, but you know how that goes.
I'm glad,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
surely don't want.
But that's not gonna happen, but, you know, I'll be more than glad to sit down and we'll do that and just take our time with this and see what we can do. And then at the end of the day, if it's not what you want, I do think that this group here and us could have a lot to offer as positives. I mean, we're gonna work hard. We already give you police, jurisdiction protection, and we're gonna continue to do that. Irregardless, we're gonna continue to do that. We'd like to see streetlights put in every area over time, things like that, make it more safe and all. So, you know, it's not just a given, it's kind of a meeting in the middle, but the key component is we wanna make sure we're not gonna get in your wallet. Because, I mean, that's not the motive, because that was two things we talked about. What is it gonna cost you? What's it gonna cost us? Because if we was doing something we couldn't afford, you know, we were hurting ourselves, just backing up. But at the end of the day, if the result's not good for everybody, then we don't need to do it.
I just think that everybody here wants to live their life the way they've been living it and no change.
Right,
And if we want a booger light, we'll put one out.
exactly.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got motion
I agree
lights if
with that.
anyone comes up.
Yeah, I've got them too.
How much and how much property was going to be annexed?
Well, what we
Because
did,
according to the map, there's a lot of, it looks like you purposely omitted sections.
well, no, what we did was, and I'll admit, I'll sit down and do some of that. It was kind of a loose fit thing. If you go on Cowpens Road, it would stop, then you going up about a mile and took a left and it started again. So you kind of we just kind of made it contiguous, so it kind of touched each other. We didn't stretch it from east or west because the Cowpens area, because there's a lot of good people. The areas we did, Whaley Ferry and Veazey, it goes part of the way down Veazey and it stops. Then it comes down Whaley Ferry and it stops. So we just tried to make it kind of all unified right there. So we didn't go out toward Goveville or back toward Hillby or nothing. So it really wasn't derived toward anybody individually or to exclude anybody, because if you look at it now, it's pretty much squared up, you know, where before it just had kind of gashes in it a little bit. So, and it wasn't intentional to leave nobody out or whatever.
It's the same map I saw.
Yeah.
Well, now, one of them was a work map, just a scribble. We've kind of got it more platted out now. You got to realize, we were starting from scratch, just looking at it, but it wasn't meant to, we try to take in the majority of it, but, you know, you got to stop somewhere. I mean, you know, because you got to realize police jurisdiction is 1.5 miles beyond where your town limit stops. So, you know, we only got 2 police officers right now. So, you know, if you stretch it so wide, you know, we causing them a problem. They work hard all the time, and they're on calls all the time. So you couldn't just go from here to Hillby Bridge and say, we want to do it all that way, because there really wasn't anything to gain on that aspect of it, because it was just.
Can we get an updated version of the map?
Well, if we pass it, or if we look for, we vote on it, we will. We hadn't got it sketched out yet. We're trying to get all the latitudes and longitudes done, but we almost got that done. But it does follow that area, but yes, we'll, you know, that'd be something we come back in when we get it. I'd like to call another meeting, and we'll lay it right here and look at it and see what y'all think, and formulate more questions, you know.
So are you guys gonna pass amongst yourselves then, basically, whether or not you still wanna go forward with the annexation? That's amongst y'all, I know, because like I said, I know what the law says. But up until that point, before you guys say, yes, we want to annex, we want to be involved up until that point. Because like we've all said, we don't have a voice in this matter.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. And I'm gonna make a recommendation tonight, and I know the council members probably agree. We'll table it, and then we'll step back and meet a couple of times, 3 times, whatever it takes, and we'll get the map and we'll talk about it. And you know, if y'all all wanna come, that's fantastic. We're not trying to do anything under the table. In other words, the time limit we had a time limit because Representative Aller just walked in. Everybody's under a time, you know, it's a process. It's not a 1 meeting or 2 meeting. You have to get the ball rolling, and it takes a while. So you just had to move in a certain manner. So in other words, but I think it's great. I do think it's good that we're here. And I think we'll meet again and we'll talk to anybody, and we'll get the map and we'll talk about it and see what y'all think. But, you know, to say what we know is
My
gonna,
point, sir, was that you may not be here, or it may be a different mayor, and who knows what that mayor or committee, they might decide, you know. But we all come in here and we all know when we got an agreement, we know what things are gonna be. Say 10 years down the road, or not me, but my children or my grandchildren are gonna have to take, and we don't know who's gonna be in the seats and what they're gonna change.
that's true,
It's
that's true.
always, that's the thing with me is, what about tomorrow? What about next month, next year, 5 years? No, we don't know what's coming.
I got you.
I mean, I've seen Elliott City.
The future,
do things.
nobody
I
knows
have
the
a business
future,
in
you're
Elliott City,
exactly
and I've seen
right.
them.
I would like to say, I would love to see y'all consider it, because I really, really think that if you do, if you really pray about it, and I prayed a lot about it. I didn't do this overnight, I prayed a lot about it, a lot. I think we're doing it for the right reason, and we want to help you, and the word annexation, it has a negative connotation. You think tax, tax, tax. There's a variety of reasons people annex, and I understand that. You see it, and that happens. But I would like for you to consider listening to us, and let's walk through it, and we'll listen to you, and just see if we can come up with a compromise.
I would like to see a thorough investigation of what potential taxes might affect people. Nobody in here knew about the gas tax until we walked in here. There might be other taxes that might affect us that we don't know about. You
And
say,
a
no,
lot
it's
of
not
us
gonna
are gonna be
happen.
on
It's
Social
not gonna
Security by
happen.
then and can't
How,
afford their
how
taxes.
thoroughly has it been investigated?
Now, that's part, I guess that's a sales tax. I
That's the
guess.
only two I found,
Yeah.
after yesterday was the propane, part of the sales tax, was propane and any purchase on, a home or motorcycle or car, that kind of thing. That's all I found. I'm not saying
That's
there's
like a
not more.
.05, it's a half.
So it would go
percent.
up a little bit more than what we would pay.
There's a lot of people in this community have fixed incomes.
And I agree. I just wanted to make sure I had the facts.
Right, yep, yep.
And
There's a lot of
Mr. Mayor, there could be taxes that actually decrease because we come into the town limits. We would just like to know that data set and have some kind of peripheral points to
Well, I tell you
look
what,
at.
we'll just do this, we'll just kind of formulate and look for a date to have a second meeting, and if y'all want to come,
These residents get access to the agenda in advance to the town hall meetings.
we put it on the website, we have our website.
Yeah.
It shows the previous meetings, it doesn't show the upcoming agenda.
Nothing for this agenda for this meeting tonight. So if that's something we would like to have as a resource.
Okay, she normally posts it on Friday, now I don't know when you look, but she has to gives it to us we get it by Friday of for the following Monday, so we have a chance to look at it.
Okay.
And so she posts, and we meet on the first and third Monday. Okay, first and third Monday. The only time that doesn't follow that is if there's a holiday, we have to shift that. But our website, and I don't know, has everybody got the way you can Google it or whatever, but she does it every Friday. Do what now? Okay.
Okay. We had just looked and tried to figure out what was going on. We didn't even know if we would be on the agenda or this topic was on the agenda.
Well,
so
you're
we sort of-
not, but I'm gonna tell
There's
you.
this many
Appreciate it.
people
That's right.
here.
It'd be very wrong. In other words, because normal procedure is, if you don't call by the Thursday before, you don't. But we all agreed, the council and all, is it up there? Okay.
Okay.
But it's always on Friday. But yes, that'd be wrong for us not to do that, because that's not what we're here for, okay? That'd be wrong. And Gwen, I'd never hear the end of it, right? Okay. But, and we're glad you come out. So
Yes, sir.
we'll kind of approach it that way, and then we'll see what we can come up with. Is that okay with y'all? Are y'all good with that?
I yield. Is
What
anybody
difference
else?
will that have on my business down there?
We do have a business license. And is it prorate, how is it formulated cost-wise? Is it size or the revenue or just a flat ask? Is it $30?
$42.
$42, the business license.
What difference it make on my taxes? I mean, as far as what I do on sales tax?
Your sales tax would increase.
Well, then you would collect, but that would be,
Yeah.
you'd pass it on to who's doing it. Yeah, you'd,
I just wonder how much it's gonna raise it.
3%, to my understanding, correct?
Yes, it go to 9%.
but now, you know, that, like you said, that is something that's in place now, and anybody up here does that. It's, you know, in town and out of town does that.
I just didn't know what it would
All right.
cost.
We appreciate y'all